at Steve Turner Contemporary. So he was saying, you know, who was in this show? Jeff Funhouse, Kehinde Wiley was in this show, McLean Thomas, just a lot of amazing artists, you know, and included me in that show. And so Peter Frank came to the show, and he was like, Yun, this is exceptional work. This is exceptional work. I was like, great, thank you. You know, just, you know, was grateful for the compliment and didn't think anything of it, right? So then I get this call from Bert, and Bert goes, Yun, congratulations. Go get a few copies of the LA Weekly. And I said, why? And he goes, you've just been named in the top 10 emerging artists in the LA Weekly by Peter Frank.
What?
I was like, real? My first year, dude. I was like, really? Yeah. And so that was that. And so that was my high. And then, you know, and it just, you know, that's kind of how it took off in LA.
Nice.
So yeah.
So what then? So tell us more then. You're flying high. People liking your work. You did a show.
I flew high, and then Bert was the one that introduced me to the art fairs. I give so much love for Bert. He's just a great guy, great gallerist. You know, just, you know, paid fast, paid on time. Always had your best interest in mind. Always kept it real with him and with me. And I asked him. I said, Bert, what do you think about exclusivity? You know, because I want to bring this up for artists because there's a lot of, you know, issues with exclusivity with artists these days. And I said, when should we go exclusive? When should you go exclusive with the gallery? And Bert said, honestly, Yun, unless a gallery can provide your livelihood as a full-time artist, you shouldn't go exclusive. Okay. And I just thought that was so meaningful because, you know, I really believe in having others' best interests in mind at all times because it's so rare. And he just really kept it real. He was like, you know, show with me, show with Art Murmur Gallery. You know, that was another gallery that was downtown at the time, who took me to the Bridge Art Fair as well. And that was when he introduced me to the art fair world in Miami, in Miami, Basel and stuff. And so in 2006, I went to the art fairs there. And this is like in Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta had picked up at the time of participating in art fairs. Maybe it was like a couple of years later the galleries first started going. But it was life-changing, you know, and it really is. You're just so frazzled. Like by the end of the weekend, you're tired from just looking at the 30 art fairs that are there, and then not to mention the parties, man. Like you're just like, you don't even want to. And after like the fourth day, all the art looks the same. It really does. You're just like, I've arted out. I can't even look at art anymore, you know. But it's really awesome, and so that was what got me to understand about how art fairs work and things like that was through Bert.
Right. So by then, are you making enough money that you're a full-time artist, or you still have a job? How much?
No, I still had a job. I was working as a financial advisor, as a trainee. So I'd always had this weird double life, and it was interesting because, you know, during the day I had to wear a suit, like a real traditional business suit. And then, you know, at night I would work on my freaky porn art.
Hello,
so
Yun Bai.
I remember, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you kind of faded out. I don't know.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so at night, you know, during the day I had to wear a business suit and look like a business professional. And then at night I would have work on my freaky porn art. And everyone there was so supportive of me. My mentor, you know, was just really, I spent 3 years as his trainee training me. And he just really stretched my mind. And so I got a lot of my business foundation from, you know, being trained as a financial advisor. But it was interesting because one day I walked into the training, right? And somebody was like, Yun, you have something stuck on your leg. And I looked down, Dan, and then it was a cornflower leaf. It was like a little vagina stuck on my leg.
What?
I was like, oh, my God, this is so embarrassing. So I had to kind of just, you know, balance that life. But that's what I was doing then, and it, you know, I just wasn't making. I'm gonna be real. I wasn't making a full-time living. I wasn't able to fully sustain or anything. And I was like, well, and you know how it is when you're a creative, you're always going to all kinds of part-time jobs. And, I've done all kinds of crazy part-time things to support this art life. And so that was one of them. And then I just did a lot of administrative jobs, makeup jobs, freelancing. And then I just kind of took the plunge and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this financial thing anymore because, I had people that I was training and it was just too much. Like I had to pick something and I had to let that go because I knew that the art was my true calling. So I went with the art and then 2008 hit, 2008 hit and everything went to hell.
Oh, no.
It did. It did. I think it went to hell for a lot of people. The economy was going awry and, the galleries, a lot of the galleries were just, kind of panicking and, and so it was just and I hung around till 2010 and it got really, really tough because I had 6 galleries that I was working with, 6 representatives, through all over. I had a Houston gallery, I had 2 in LA, I had a couple in Atlanta, I was working with somebody in New York, and it was just, I was like, why is this so tough? Why do I have 6 galleries and I'm not making 6 figures?
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
Right. And so I just said, look, Yun, you can either stay in LA and get a job, or you can humble yourself and go back home. And your parents are really fragile as it is. Their health wasn't too good at the their health still isn't good, but their health isn't good. And I was like, well, sometimes maybe you just got to go home and take a step back to make a punch. Like they say in $1 Million Baby. And that's what I did. And I just, everybody was like, you shouldn't have left the galleries, Yun. You shouldn't have left the galleries. That was a big mistake, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to lie, it was a very rough transition. Because I just was trying to do something new, and that was, I still love the galleries. I feel that they're definitely our business partners, but art world is changing right now, as with the internet, and we're about right behind the music industry. So I'm always kind of keeping an eye on the music industry and what's happening with them because I know the art world is going to be right behind it. And which is, an interesting time right now for us artists because we have the internet, we have freedom, we have all these amazing distribution channels that are aside from the galleries. And the galleries, I definitely think we should, include them in our practice. They're vital business partners. There's some amazing gallerists out there that love artists, that love art, that bust butt. And I still want to continue working with galleries, but I'm definitely just doing things on my terms right now.
Right. So that, and you've been doing that since on your terms, and how is that going? What's that path like?
It is definitely, and I think coming back to Atlanta, I haven't really been, I've been kind of dabbling here and there. I've been doing a lot of more personal growth and personal adjustments to stuff, and just going through a lot of life changes, but just growing. Whenever you're growing, it's very uncomfortable. It's, when a baby is teething, they're screaming, because it hurts. And so that's kind of what I've been going through, is doing a lot of personal development, doing a lot of personal molding, and, really just sticking to the game. And right now, I'm still getting adjusted and, still making that transition, but we're really getting close to, I want to be able to fully operate independently. And, and right now, if I do work with a gallery, it's not on the traditional terms, but it's more so, what are their needs and what are my needs, and how do we come together to make it win-win? I want to emphasize that I only do win-win deals. That you have to win and I have to win, so we can do this over and over and over again. It's always about, is the other party going to win with me?
Right. And I
So
guess that's the growth part that you're trying to see. You always want to adjust,
mhm.
and if this doesn't work, then you adjust and try something else. If that doesn't
Yeah.
work, you adjust and try something else. And then sometimes it works, and you're like, well, how can we get more out of it? And you
Well,
adjust. Uh-huh.
yeah, and I'm gonna be real, this system, from what I've observed, from what I think that it was the traditional system, art system the way that it is right now, it was,
Mm-hmm.
started in the 40s and 50s, when there
Mm-hmm.
was no internet. But we're still hanging on to it in 2015. you
Uh-huh.
know, and I just, have you heard of that book, Who Moved My Cheese? There's a book called
Yes.
there's okay, with a little mouse, and the whole story of the book is, something like somebody was just so set on finding their cheese, but it's all about adapting. You have to adapt. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
a Gemini, so I'm really good at adapting to I can just throw in an environment and I will adapt and
Uh-huh.
land on my feet. And so I said, you have to adapt, and you have to move with the cheese. You have to change with the times. And
Right.
so I just completely, said, look, Yun, you got to be brave and be bold and be willing to do what everybody else is not willing to do or afraid to do. And
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a reward there when you're bold and be the first one to do something. And also, one big thing is, we love C4 Atlanta, .org for
Mm-hmm.
anyone that is a creative that wants to learn about, business things. And I took their Ignite program, which is amazing, which is to teach creatives, especially how do you make your creative practice a profitable business. And
Mm-hmm.
it's strictly business. And that, and I just really want to, give a shout out to Ms. Susan Bridges of Whitespace, because they have a scholarship that you can apply for. But you have to either be living in Metro Atlanta or be affiliated with a business in Metro Atlanta. And so I reached out to her and I said, can I say that I'm affiliated with you since we are under talks for, representation and consignment, so I can qualify for the scholarship? And she said, absolutely. And I just love Susan with all my heart, because, the city of Atlanta has seen me grow up. I started out interning at Art Papers when I was 18 selling classified ads.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's seen me grow up. And what I love about Miss Susan Bridges, I believe in being kind. I only work with nice people. If you're not a nice person, you know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? Like, if you're not a nice person, I'm not going to deal with you, period. You know? And even if I have to say no to someone, I say it nicely. I call them back personally, myself. It's all about keeping it real and being treated how you would want to be treated. And I love Miss Susan Bridges because when I was 18, and some people just, don't give you the time of day when you're 18 and a student or whatever, she always treated me so well and respected me as an artist and just had so much love and just honor a
Mm-hmm.
young artist's dignity when you're 18. And that resonated with me up until, when I got older. So when I first came back to the city, I called Susan up and I said, Susan, you are my first choice for representation. Can we talk and sit down and talk before I shop myself around to the city, for the rest of the city? And she
Mm-hmm.
said, absolutely. So the power of kindness is so important,
Right.
I know we're like on all over the place. It's hard for me to stick to
Yes,
this
we are.
topic. So where are
It's
we
good.
going?
It's good.
So night class. So back to the blue ocean strategy. There's something called the blue ocean strategy that I learned through the Ignite program. They cover a lot, and if it wasn't for this blue ocean strategy that they exposed me to, I wouldn't have been able to really make the moves that I'm making now. And
Okay.
it's really to be brave and get into the unknown, and it's kind of like the California gold rush. You got to head west, not literally, but you got to go into new territory and plant your
Mm-hmm.
ground there,
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is something I'm doing right now, which is, if you look at the red ocean is all bloody and, everybody's saturated. You got, collectors that are so used to artists pitching them for work and stuff. But yet here in America, I feel like we're really in the dark about fine art and visual art and contemporary art. And it wasn't just until recently that you see